Welcome to What's the Deal with Community Service, presented by College Com. I first want to start out with talking to students about why community service is important. And there's a lot of different reasons that community service is valuable for students and also for the college process. It's a way for students to acquire new skills. It's a way for students to gain knowledge about the world. It's a way for students to learn how to communicate. It's a way to, become and learn more compassion and be creative. There's so much value in having students get out into the community that first and foremost, students should be doing it because it's the right thing to do. And it's a good thing for them as they're growing into an adult to do. The secondary part, which we'll get to at the end of this presentation, is why it's good for the college application process. So you'll see in this slide that kind of what we'll talk about at the beginning is the capacity that looking at community service is a way for you to explore your interest, to help others in need, to connect with your community, to promote self-awareness and personal growth opportunities, and ultimately to develop leadership skills, which are all really important things for adolescents to be doing. So the first step that we recommend for students is to really think about their values. What do you care deeply about? What do you want to learn more about? And where did those values overlap with things that you can do in the community? The best case scenario is that students are not doing community service to check it off the box and say, oh, I did it. It's that you've actually thought about how you want to contribute to the community. I want you to remember that you did do an interest survey back in the beginning in September, and you should go back and look at it and look at your top 10 choices. And if there's things that aren't super community oriented, go back to the initial list because there's a lot of community oriented things on there. And you should go back through there and say, hey, where are some areas where I might want to, just check something out. The other thing for you to be thinking about is that you are very talented. I think this is one of the things in our work here at College Com that we love is that students come in with an incredible array of talents and they're all very different. But I think a lot of times students aren't thinking of themselves in terms of their talents and what they have to share with the community. They think they're young and maybe just don't have anything that's super valuable. But I want students to understand you have incredible skills to contribute to the community, whether it's, awesome social media, understanding and the way that you might be able to get an organization you care about to better connect with younger students, to if you are incredibly athletic, maybe it's that you want to be a referee or that you want to coach, or you could even create your own clinic for young students. If you're a musician, you could put on a specialty concert for a group or try to raise money through a concert. There's programs like Music Mentors. You could teach lessons just to students at a particular elementary school, or you could start a club at your school. From an academic perspective, there are so many organizations that are in need of tutors and older students to mentor and support younger students. You also, if you're at a big public high school, they need avid tutors. They need students at school that are willing to help other students that are either in their class or maybe 1 year behind in math. And being able to help and support them having gone through that math class is really, really valuable. So you want to think about your interests, but you also want to think about your talents. So one of the things we put together here is just an idea in terms of the progression of community service, right? Or community engagement, as it's typically called at the college level. Freshman year is a great time to check out some of the clubs at your school and to see if there's community service clubs that you're interested in, or Habitat for Humanity, or, gather some friends and go check out some of those things. You can easily volunteer with your church. A lot of students will do mission trips or just help out in the church community. A referee we talked about a little bit, or a coach. And this is a really good time to define your interests, but also your values. This is a lot about how do you want to spend your time. Now, progressing, what we put under sophomore year, this is a continuum. It doesn't necessarily have to happen in sophomore year. We're just trying to move from beginning to thinking about this to sort of where you've connected and really are diving a little bit deeper. So sophomore year, you think about what you like. I always tell students, if you went and tried out a whole bunch of different community service activities, or if you're in YMSL or National Charity League, that's great, but what did you really like? And start to think about where you might want to spend a little bit more time. It's absolutely great to do one-off community service. There's a lot of organizations that need that. They just need bodies to do particular projects, but I find that students find much more meaningful work when they're able to spend more time at a particular organization. And when you're with a particular organization, it just opens up opportunities for you to take on more leadership. You know, are you in a position in your second or third year to be able to train other volunteers? Are you able to recruit other people from your high school to come and work at this organization? Those are sort of the things as you're progressing on through sophomore and junior year and even to senior year that can be really, you know, powerful in terms of supporting an organization. You know, continuing to think of what are your overlapping interests? How can you be doing multiple things, whether it's, you know, CAS hours if you're at Sequoia and doing the IB program, or if you're at a Catholic school and you're required to do a certain number of hours, or if you've decided that you want to do the Presidential Award for Service. Like, how can you make all of these things happen? Really, but doing meaningful work in the community. There's also the concept of if there isn't something out there that is doing what you really believe is something that is important in the community and where you could make a difference, think about that. That's amazing. You can think about starting your own thing. So these are just ideas in terms of moving forward in the continuum of going from just a general interest to really making an impact in the community. So here's what we really basically think are the steps in terms of figuring out where you want to get involved. The first is to do research, and we're going to show you on the next slide, I'm going to show you this amazing resource that we are giving you access to so that you can look at a lot of different organizations in our community. Then you're going to need to contact, right? So within those organizations, you might send an email, you might call, you might know someone who already, you know, works at that organization or is volunteering at that organization, and figure out the best way to contact. I find that email is a pretty good place to start. But with that is recognizing that a lot of the organizations in our community are maxed out in a lot of different ways. And so they may not get back to you within 24 hours. They, you know, you may wait a week and not hear anything back, and that's okay. Just follow up. It doesn't mean that there aren't any opportunities within the organization. It simply means that there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's okay. Now, don't follow up every 24 hours for 5 days in a row. I think that's probably not helpful, but you definitely want to follow up if you're not getting any response, or if you do get a response that says, hey, contact this person, make sure that you contact that person and kind of keep the conversation going. It can take a lot of interaction and communicating to actually secure a spot at an organization that you're excited about. So just, you know, be patient. And I think that the communication is key. Organizations really want students who are good at communicating and good at following up, because those make the best volunteers. So I think that it's really important that you just keep tabs on who you've contacted and, you know, make sure that you follow up as emails come back. So here's what's going to be what's in your newsletter in terms of College Comm has a community organization list that is very robust. And we want you to go through, and they're actually done by categories. So I'm going to click out to it so that you can see it. So you're able to go through all of this list. You're not able to alter the list, just so you know. So what we did is we took a great number of community organizations that are local, that have worked with volunteers, and we've put them by category. So you see these are animal related, there's culture related. We put the websites and a little bit of a description. And so you'll see there are a lot of different categories and a lot of different organizations. And some of them, unfortunately, you know, we're still adding some of the information on the organizations, but you definitely want, if it's you can Google them if the link doesn't work or something to that effect. And so, you know, elderly, education, environment, family, health, you know, other poverty related organizations, which there are a lot of in our community, working with youth, right? So go through and read some of these and just see if there's something that sparks your interest. If you keep scrolling down, you're also going to see high school clubs and community opportunities. And so there are clubs at each of the high schools around here that are dedicated to community service or community involvement. And so these are great links, and toward a lot of them are just going to give you the list of organizations at the high school. And then on the side are some of the ideas of some of the organizations that we've seen students work at different schools. So that's a great resource. Then there's faith-based opportunities. So even if you aren't a part of a church, but that's something that you might be interested in, there's certainly things that you can look at here. Other community opportunities are groups, right? Like National Charity League, Girl Scouts, Young Men's Service League, that are focused on students getting involved in the environment. And for some families, that's a great way to get involved. Service learning, this is a part that we're starting to build out a little bit. Things like Sojourn to the Past, which explores the civil rights movement, is an amazing organization that has a service learning component. Things like Global Glimpse, if you're, you know, traveling and want to travel internationally, is another one where there is a service component to what students do. Then Volunteer Match is essentially different organizations in our community where you can click on and they'll tell you like one-off opportunities and organizations that specifically, for the most part, work with youth. So there are a lot of different things in the community that are age-based. I think in most cases, if you're going to be working with food, you have to be 16 or older. So there are some things that students run into. I would say Doing Good Together is a great organization because there are no age limit as long as students are with an older family member. So these are just organizations in our community. And if you want to just get an idea of what's going on and maybe just pick a Saturday and say, I'm going to do something, those are great organizations that you can use to find all of those applications. So tons of resources for you to go through. These are other ones. Most of them are on that sheet. Volunteer Match, One Brick, Doing Good Together, Hands On Bay Area, the Volunteer Center, United We Serve, right? Those are all ones that are going to list current volunteer opportunities and openings. The interesting thing is on a lot of them, like Volunteer Match, you can put your age. And in this day and age, there are actually a lot of volunteer opportunities that are virtual. So there's things that students can do, not necessarily hands-on, that are really helpful to organizations. And so, you know, as we're going through what's going on in our community right now, looking for some of those opportunities, there might be more and more of those. The other thing is if students are not finding what they want on that list, or they have an interest that's kind of unique and they want to go through and think about how they could contribute to the community, we wanted to let you know that we do have the Student Synergy Project at College Comm that we run over the summer. And it's for rising freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and even seniors, if that's something that will work for them. And it's a flexible summer program where you basically meet one-on-one with a counselor and go to at least one group meeting. But what you do is really think about your interests, narrow down what you want to focus on, and then perform a little research. You know, what's out there, what information would be really important to know to do this project. And that research helps students refine their ideas. Then they create a plan. And typically are doing that with their Synergy coach. You're supposed to meet or talk with one or two experts in the area that you're interested in, and then present a final project. It's a really great summer program. You can go to our website and get a lot more information on the Synergy Project. But one year we had a student who was really interested in medicine, but was getting, you know, there's a lot of volunteering at hospitals and things like that that you can't do until you're 16. And so what he decided to do was get CERT certified, which is the emergency preparedness group in his city, and each city has one. And he went to these meetings. And when we talked about how to extend his learning, he decided to work with the Boys and Girls Club and did a presentation to students on emergency preparedness. And then with the students there, he built emergency preparedness kits. And I think that that was an amazing sort of extension, and for him to gain knowledge, like when we talked about at the beginning, kind of gain knowledge and a talent, and then really thinking about how to share that talent or that knowledge with the community. And that's a big part of the Student Synergy Project. So if you're going and trying a whole bunch of different things, we wanted you to kind of think about, when do you know when you've found the right fit or the right organization, or maybe it's even just the right category or area that you want to make a difference. The goal is for you to feel happy and to feel good about going, where you feel that your work is valued, where you feel like you're making a difference. You enjoy it, you connect with it, you get to interact with your peers or with people through the organization. You feel comfortable if you have a supervisor, right? The communication is good, you know how and when you're going to be there, and that you feel helpful. Now, it may not be every single one of those things, but if most of those things are covered, then you know you found a really great organization that matches your interests and your needs. And that's really the goal here. We want students to find organizations where they do feel like they're making a difference. So what's the connection to college? And this is our last slide, so the end of the presentation. And we always want students to kind of have in the back of their mind in terms of, why do I need to think about ways that I have to contribute to the community? And I think it's important that for students to know that colleges are going to ask them questions about how they've engaged with their community, whether it's their school community or their outside community. And so these are questions, we went Pacific Northwest here. So University of Oregon has a question. The University of Oregon values difference, and we take pride in our diverse community. Please explain how you will share your experiences, values, and interests with our community. And what ways can you imagine offering your support to others? The University of California for the UC app is, what have you done to make your school or community a better place? And then University of Washington is very similar to University of Oregon, which essentially, is describing the world you come from and how you might add to the diversity of the University of Washington. The deal is what these colleges are asking, and the only way to answer these questions is to say and share with them how you have contributed to your community during high school. Right? And then what you do is you say, and then at the University of Oregon, I am excited to do X, Y, and Z. And whether it's finding particular student organizations or community organizations, what you're saying is, here's how I contributed and engaged in high school, and I plan to do the same at your university. Compelling college applications or compelling answers to these questions, right, make more compelling students when they're looking to admit students. So what they're looking for are students who take initiative, students who get involved, students who are willing to contribute to the community, and students that demonstrate the capacity to enrich a college community. When you go on a college tour, you will hear about all the organizations that they have on campus. They need students who are going to work in those organizations, to lead those organizations. And so this idea of taking some initiative and getting out into the community is really appealing to colleges, because they want you to do that when you get to their community as well. And they want you to take advantage of their resources on the college campus. So that's the connection really between community service and the college application. We started this presentation with the incredible value that we believe that community service has for students. Everything from learning more about yourself to challenging yourself, getting out of your comfort zone and doing all of those things. And then in the end, what happens is those experiences become really good things to put on the college application, because colleges want to see students who are a little bit out of their comfort zone, who are trying something new, who are really thinking about someone outside of themselves and their family. So that's the deal with community service. And we hope that you will go through the rest of the newsletter and get a lot more good information.